I'm quite a big fan of Fred Astaire, so I was really looking forward to Holiday, and this sounded like a really interesting concept. Having now watched it, I can say I didn't love it. It's got 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb, which is a really solid rating, but honestly, I don't think I'd give it more than 6.5. This was released in 1942. It's directed by Mark Sandrich and Robert Allen, and we have a screenplay by Claude Binion, adapted by Elmer Rice, based on an idea by Irving Berlin. And alongside Berlin's name, we have a whole host of other great names, including obviously Fred Astaire, who plays Ted, and Bing Crosby, who plays Jim. We also have Virginia Dale as Lila Dixon and Marjorie Reynolds as Linda Mason. And we have a narrative that deals with relationships at the forefront, but behind that is this Holiday Inn. And this is an inn that is only open during the holiday seasons, which makes some sense. They get a lot of business during the holiday seasons. They can make most of their money during those times. This inn was actually set up because of not necessarily because of a heartbreak, but after a heartbreak. Because Jim is planning on marrying Lila and moving to a farm on Connecticut. They are performers, they sing and dance, very different lifestyle that they're planning on having. But at the last minute, Lila admits that she's actually falling in love with Ted, and the relationship breaks off. And one thing leads to another, and quite quickly, I'd say within the first 10 minutes of the film, I wasn't timing it, but very, very quickly, Jim has opened up this inn. And it all happens exceptionally quickly. But what happens then? Well, there are a lot of coincidences. There are definitely things in this film where if you're not a fan of films where things are too convenient and people just happen to be in the right place at the right time, you may not love it, but that doesn't bother me. Ted and Layla end up having not a straightforward relationship. Things don't go the way they planned. Jim gets wind of this. Jim falls for another girl, another woman, and then it seems like Ted might also have eyes for the same woman, not realizing that Jim does, and there are kind of a lot of things, a lot of very tangled webs. It's very unclear who will end up with whom by the end of the film, which is something I like, because I was curious. It kept me watching it. I kept thinking, okay, will Jim get back with Lila? Will Ted end up with Linda? Everybody seems to like everybody, which leads to some, very interesting scenes and a little bit of deceit, and that side of it I thought was quite interesting. The scenes in the Holiday Inn, the majority of it does take place there, are lively. We have very vast scenes with a lot of extras, because obviously there are a lot of patrons of the Holiday Inn. Obviously a lot of attention to detail in the films, and the costumes. The costumes are stunning. The musical numbers are really great. We get to see a lot of great performances, because obviously that's the nature of the Holiday Inn. However, I will say there's one in particular. Well, there are two that I want to mention. I will mention three particular songs and dance numbers. The first one that's very easy to mention is Easter Parade. It's a song that I love, really enjoyed it in this film, very happy it was part of it. Another one is towards the end of the film, Fred Astaire has a solo dance number, and it's his longest performance. I can't remember the name of the actual song, but it's the one where he's dropping firecrackers. And I just thought you've completely ruined it, because tap dancing, one of the reasons why tap dancing is amazing is because of the sound of tap dancing. And then you're dropping all of these firecrackers, so I can't hear the tap dancing. And obviously watching the footwork is brilliant, but it kind of detracts from the reason tap dancing is so amazing, because of the sound of it. So I thought that was a terrible decision. And we also need to acknowledge the song Abraham. Abraham is a minstrel show song, and Linda and Jim are in blackface. And it is so awkward. And I don't know why, but I find that women in blackface is even more uncomfortable than men. I guess maybe that's just because I've seen more men in blackface, so when it's a woman, it's more jarring. I don't know. But what's really interesting about this is we do actually have a black character, a genuine, it sounds really weird saying this, but a genuinely black person, Louise Beavers, who plays the maid or housekeeper, Mamie. She's singing in part of that song, and it's so bizarre to have those characters in blackface, but then having an actual black actress as part of the number, and there's just something, it's really weird, because it's kind of like saying, we don't want to get black people to do this, but black people can work for us. And it's just, I don't know, it makes it even more uncomfortable. But the song itself, I actually quite liked, which makes it even more weird because I liked listening to it, but certainly didn't enjoy watching it. As a whole, I don't know. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. As I've said, there are many positive things about it. I kind of like the tangled web of narrative with the various different love interests, and that side of it works quite well for me. But honestly, I think I just expected too much. I think I'd seen some of the reviews online before watching it, not in any spoiler details, but I'd seen some things and kind of expected this amazing film with these amazing performances. And, you know, the performances were good. The narrative is good. It just, maybe I put it on a pedestal before even watching it. I'm not sure. But all of that being said, it's definitely worth watching, particularly if you're a fan of anybody in it. I wouldn't mind watching it again. Maybe it wasn't the perfect film I was expecting or hoping for, but Holiday Inn is still one that I'm going to recommend.